Thank you for your time. Can you tell us a bit about why you say the end of doom, and when you refer to GMO and how you feel that that's a factor that we need to consider as to whether or not it's good or bad for our crops and so on?
The name of the book is The End of Doom, Environmental Renewal in the 21st Century. I talk about a whole bunch of different things. Population trends, world populations likely to peak and begin declining over the 21st century. I also look at energy use and how likely we're to move to low carbon, no carbon energy sources, and I think we're going to move in that direction. One of the topics that you mentioned I talk about is genetically modified food. And genetically modified food, no one on planet Earth has gotten so much as a sniffle, a cough, a wheeze from eating anything made from genetically modified crops at this point. And this is agreed upon by every independent scientific organization has ever looked at it. And this is in Europe, in Asia, the United States, the American Medical Association, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, etc., have all agreed that the current varieties of genetically modified foods are safe for human beings and the environment. In fact, they're really good for the environment. Among other things, for example, the amount of pesticides that is applied to food plants anymore has been reduced by a third to a half from what it used to be in the 1970s. And this is good for the environment.
Okay, so countering some of the theories of people, and you mentioned something that I thought was somewhat humorous today. You said you often love to spend time with people who disagree with you.
Yes.
And I appreciate that it was almost like self-depreciating humor. So, but when you learn from other people, in a sense, right? How does that make your theories stronger, if at all?
Well, no, I try to go and listen to what other people are saying, because that way I can figure out whether I'm wrong or not. If I'm only listening to myself or other people who agree with me, I don't get new information. So I spend a great deal of time covering, I'm a journalist, so what I do, I'm writing articles, I'm covering groups, environmental groups, for example, who are talking about all kinds of issues, genetically modified crops, climate change, trying to get their perspective and to see whether or not their data is better than or different than the data I'm reading in the scientific literature. And I've been to, for example, 10 United Nations climate change meetings. I've covered that as a journalist, and I will be going to Paris in December to cover them again. And every time I go, I figure out what people are saying, where the latest information is coming from, and I put that into my reporting.
And so you are sometimes supported. I mean, you make a living with, I guess, in some ways, as a speaker, right?
No.
How do you make your I know it's a personal question, but how do you make your primary living?
I'm the science correspondent at Reason Magazine, and basically I have a contract with them, and they provide me with a monthly stipend.
A roof over your head, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And you got a lot of people showing up here for today for this.
And the truth is, the great news is that it's a great place for me to work, because they've allowed me an enormous amount of freedom to do the reporting I want to do. And sometimes when I change my mind about climate change, and a lot of people in their policy environment don't think that's a good idea, they still support me on it.
Okay.
I'm in favor of vaccination, and a lot of people think that vaccinations are causing autism, and explaining that's not true. They support me on that. So it's a great place to work in that sense, because they give you intellectual freedom. You don't have to toe any particular ideological line.
So they don't talk about you behind your back in the bathroom. You don't see something written on the
know.
wall sometimes.
They may, but I don't see it.
Indeed. So if someone wants to invite you, now, is there a politically partisan part of your presentation? I realize that Cato is a libertarian organization, and Reason is probably libertarian friendly. So is there a political message to any of the work that you're doing in a sense?
I don't think it was a political message, because the thing about libertarianism is it's not a complete theory of life. It's basically a way of describing how you think politics and markets should be organized. And the reason I'm a libertarian, I used to be a socialist when I was in college, I confess it. And what happened is I took economics. I hated economics because it was telling me that I was wrong. But eventually what happens is I figured out that the only thing that has ever gotten poor people rich is free markets. The natural state of humanity up until the invention of democratic capitalism was abject poverty. People died by age 26 in most countries before the advent of capitalism in the 18th starvation were everywhere, disease was everywhere, and as I say, the only thing that gets poor people rich is democratic capitalism. There is no such thing as a rich socialist country. Never has been.
Self-motivation has a lot to do with it too, right? Regardless of where you live.
Certainly, but what you have to do is have the institutions that allow poor people like me to actualize themselves and to try to make a better contribution to the world.
So what will your legacy be? Do you feel that you will be able to affect change as far as legislation is concerned at some point?
I don't do legislation. I don't talk to politicians.
Okay.
What I try to do is provide the data, and other people who are more interested in talking to politicians can take that, and I hope they'll make some changes. But my goal is to just say what I think is so, what is the truth.
What happens when a congressperson asks you for support in the polls?
I do vote.
So there you go.
That's
all we need to know.
That's it. That's it.
Well,
for example, I voted for Obama in 2008. Why? Because
that was the first time around. What happened the second time?
I couldn't do that. No, the reason, part of it is that I think the Republican Party is as interested in using the government to advance the goals of the groups that they support as the Democratic Party is to use government to advance the goals of the people they support. So I wanted to punish the Republicans. I particularly wanted to punish George W. Bush for getting us into 2 losing wars.
I see.
And giving us the financial crisis and growing the size of the government.
We understand. We understand.
So I voted for Obama in the hopes that he would be better. Turns out he wasn't.
Okay. Well, I would love to follow up with you on this. I'm running out of space, but I'm really glad that you were able to speak with me about that.
Okay. And maybe put this online or something.
Yeah, I would.